like to thank everyone for coming. This is our gallery talk with Linda Gall. Our current exhibition, Old Wood and Ancient Haunts, is Linda's first solo exhibition in 5 years, and her first as a Hammond Harkins artist. And joining her today in conversation is Rebecca Ibel. And Rebecca is the director and curator of the Pizzuti collection. And as many of you may remember, several years ago, before she had that position, she also had a gallery herself. And one of the artists she represented was Linda. And the two know each other also as arts professionals, independent of Rebecca's gallery. And I think it's safe to say they're both friends. So all of us here at the gallery thought it would be perfect if we could have Rebecca interview Linda. And so we're very thrilled that both of them are here today. Linda has an impressive resume. She graduated from Rutgers University with an MFA from the Mason Gross School of Arts. She's had a lot of exhibitions, too many to count, so I counted the solo exhibitions. I think this is your 19th.
Really?
She's had residencies. She's curated. She's taught at the Columbus College of Art and Design, and she has work in the permanent collection of the Zanesville Museum of Arts. She also has work in the Pizzuti collection and also in the Progressive Arts collection. So we feel very thrilled to know her just as a person, and very fortunate to be able to offer this exhibition, which we think is really very beautiful. So thank you to both of you for being here, and thank you to everyone else also. And with that, I will pass things on to Linda and Rebecca.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chad.
Thank you, and thank you to Marlena and to you all here at Hammond Harkins for showing Linda's work, bringing her back.
Yeah.
It's a pleasure to see the work here together and to have Linda in Ohio for a little time. We don't get enough time together. I have known Linda a long time. I moved back to Columbus in '93 and met Linda shortly thereafter. I was invited to, wasn't really jury, put together an exhibition curated a show for the Ohio Art League. And Linda was the office manager.
Yeah.
They had an office which was a closet in the building on First and Harrison. And it was a broom closet that she had this little desk in there. It was very sad. But that was the first time we met. And we worked together. I got more involved with a number of faces here at the Art League. And there was one painting that she did for a juried show, and it was like a big red interior with 100 little pictures inside. It was like an old National Gallery kind of painting. And it was so crazy. I was like, oh, all right, now I like her. This is good stuff. So I thought we could talk a little bit about the work and what's in it and where you've been and where we're going. And then we'll open it up to questions. I mean, I know you all, many of you know Linda well, but there'll be good probing things. You have sort of an unusual career path, but you have all the education and then make unusual choices for wanting to be an exhibiting artist, moving to Zanesville, Ohio.
Yeah, that's my style.
But the painting and drawing and the art, you've always had this committed work relationship. And it feels like the subject matter has been the constant, and the techniques and things are the things that have evolved over time.
That's true. In certain ways, yeah, that is true. Well, the earliest things that you saw were more about family and family snapshots and putting people, ordinary people, in environments that were alien to them. And so back long before 2000, I was doing environments of Islamic mosques and temples and things like that, and putting my Midwestern family in them where they don't fit. And because still they could look like tourists, I would float them in the air or turn them upside down hanging from the ceiling and things like that, so that they would be uncomfortable and you wouldn't understand exactly what was going on. So that's how that all got started. And then at some point, the environment became more important to me than the people in a certain way. And so, autograph. That's all right. And these buildings became important to me. I bought a home that was over 100 years old, and got involved in this neighborhood and the fights that are around these historic neighborhoods, and got involved in that politically. And these buildings became important to me, and buildings that were torn down. And our industrial, I used to do a lot of things that I called our industrial wasteland. Old buildings, brick buildings, things that we don't value anymore. And this was in the Midwest, in the Rust Belt. But to put my family in there, that didn't make any sense anymore. And so that's when I started, what I would do, my way of finding what I was going to use would be trolling the library stacks.
I always liked that about you. You used to say you traveled through the library.
All my travels are in the library. And so I would something would pop out at me, a cover, a title, something, I'd pull it out and I'd look at it. And it might or might not speak to me as a possible addition to what I was thinking about and doing in my work. And for some reason, I saw this book of Meissen figurines, 17th century, 18th century, and I don't like them. I mean, I don't want them. Never get me one, please. Don't think that I would like to collect these. I don't want to. But I love painting them. And I love putting them in my paintings because they make much sense to me somehow.
Well, they have that sort of 18th century Italian trope, absurd qualities that maybe your family, and my family also has.
All families have.
All families have. That there's an element of the ridiculous in the environment.
True, this
or
absurdity.
Yeah,
this absurdity of them being there. And what are they doing in our old buildings and our old neighborhoods? And they don't belong here. They're not real. You know, they are what I used to call fairy tale figures. And I always wondered, what are they doing here? You know, I'm putting them in this environment. Why are they here? What are they thinking about it? Are they thinking that it's horrible? You know, why are these people doing this to their world? Or are they thinking, wow, this is really cool. We should do this too. And that's pretty sad. But
well, I think there was also, you know, Zanesville being known for its pottery. There were some nice
all these connections are constantly being made. Yeah.
And Ohio, and there's a real taste for pottery. I used to send you photos. I'd see things in museums and take pictures of images and send them to Linda.
Right.
But there is a whole wealth of animals and dancers and singers, and they have a quality that, you know, this is I guess from the personal side of you giving me books to read, and you have a very romantic taste.
Of course.
And I'm
a very romantic person.
I see that, but I think it's in the work as well. There's a romantic quality in the way you romanticize the ruins a little bit.
And the nostalgic aspect of it,
yes.
The romance with nostalgia, you know, which is very multi-layered. There are lots of things about nostalgia that are both positive and negative. And I think that all the things that I do reflect the positive and the negative aspects of looking at things.
But that's so like a don't in the art world to use
of course.
nostalgia and romance.
I know.
Okay.
It's one of the reasons I do it.
Yes.
You know, Dave Hickey, I follow him on Facebook. He likes to be very provocative, and he said something the other day about artists. If you're an artist, you cannot live in a small town. You cannot do this, you know, you cannot use that. And I said, well, I have to comment when he says stuff like that.
Well, he lives in Santa Fe.
Yeah, I know.
Okay.
And he hates it. And I said, you know, and the artists who follow him often really pay attention to what he's saying and take that as rules of what you should do. And so I say, Dave's right, but don't listen to him. because that's not the point. The point is not to follow the rules. The point is not just to defy the rules. The point is to do what you do and to do it so well that the rules don't matter.
So this show is a nice mirror to the last show you had at Miranova, where there were ruins in Zanesville,
Right.
paired with the figurines. That I guess was 5 years ago. I guess.
Chet, how long
Chet,
ago
that
was
was
that?
5 years ago. So
The
last
show at Miranova? My last
Well,
solo?
that was just right before.
Yes, that was one of the last shows we did. And I mean, you've had a lot of personal change in that year.
A lot of change. Well, since that year.
Yeah.
I lost my husband, and that was very, very traumatic. And when I lost him, I lost some of my ability to do some work very coherently. And then finally, I started to get over that, and I met my current boyfriend, who will never be my husband, Bob, who is hiding in the other room. And he lives in New Mexico. And so I was working for Rebecca. Here's what happened. So I lost my husband. A month later, Rebecca closed her gallery.
Oh, yeah.
And my dog died.
I forgot that.
And so, I always said that my life was a country western song. If I only had a truck and it broke down, my husband died, my dog died, and my gallery closed.
Not many country western singers about that.
Well, no, but you could. And so when I met Bob, he lived in New Mexico, and I went there and fell in love with New Mexico. It's an incredible place. It's just visually amazing, which of course is, there he is. He finally came out of hiding. And that's been my inspiration with this work.
But you seem to have found your footing again, and there's, I think, a beautiful line of the way. One of the things I loved about your last show is I thought it was the high point of this your watercolor technique with the Monkey Band series, and then the way you found the panels, the paintings.
Mm-hmm.
They also carry through the really rich color palette that you have, and technically I think they connect more to the watercolors. And so I'm really happy in this body to see that you found your way again.
I think that it's similar in a certain way, but in another way it's gentler. The Wasteland series was kind of angry in a certain way, don't you think? I was angry about tearing down buildings and things like that, although that's always ambiguous too, because as much as I hate tearing down beautiful old historic buildings, I love to watch them go down. It's very fascinating to watch a building go down. But these are gentler because these buildings are not being torn down. There's no fight about this. These buildings were built from the land, from the things that are around them, in a very organic way, a long time ago, and they wear away. But they wear away slowly in New Mexico because it's very dry where we live. And so they're very, very old, but they go back to the earth just almost in the reverse of the way that they came to be. So I think that that's a kind of a gentle way, it's sort of...
Well, I like how you turn back to landscape to find your footing again. And I like the fence post series that you have.
Yeah.
That seemed to be like the igniting point for this.
Yeah, that got it started. Yeah. Because when I take walks and the fence posts they're all different. They're fence posts, again, our area is a poor area and people don't go down to Lowe's to buy their fences. They use what's there. And also because even if you bought your wood at Lowe's, it's going to dry and twist and bend and do different things that doesn't happen in the same way here. It's not quite the same. And
Well,
so
the fences
anyway, the
is
fences
what
attracted me.
we would. Linda and I have been joined at the hip on and off for 20 years, but when she moved to New Mexico, we didn't talk as much because I cannot talk for 2 hours at night, but she can. We used to drive together to New York, and Linda can talk the entire way.
Keeps you awake.
It does. She's very fun to be with. I remember just sort of giving you time to figure out what you were doing, but I remember the conversations about the fence posts, about how you're like, okay, I think I figured it out.
Right.
And it seems to have really, once you found that there's a whole like city here of buildings and environments.
Yeah, and we barely mind the wealth of what's there, but yes, what to paint when I moved to New Mexico was a big problem. I couldn't imagine, I can't continue to paint Ohio things. I'm not really connected anymore in that way. But what do? You're in the land of Georgia O'Keeffe. And I don't want to be Georgia O'Keeffe, much as I may admire her work. And not only are you in the land of Georgia O'Keeffe, but you are in a land of thousands of artists. I mean, this is a very artistic area. A lot of artists live there, and a lot of them are landscape painters, and almost all of them are better landscape painters than I will ever be.
Well,
that's
matter of opinion.
Well, you know what I'm saying.
Yeah.
And so how do I find a way to do landscape that's mine, and not, that's mine, which is not easy.
Well, I think there's an authenticity in your work that is evident in this. There's a confidence in this work. And I think your work always has sort of biographical.
Always.
So that the love and family is still here.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Do you knowingly choose your figurines with that in mind, or do you?
No, I don't think about my family when I'm choosing the figurines. I don't think really about anything except, will it be funny, or will it be poignant, or, will it have some kind of meaning with the building that's there? But then later, people point things out. The diptych that Mr. Pizzuti bought, at the end of it, this long barn, there's a stall, and in it I put this figurine of this tall, lanky guy sitting on a stool with a guitar playing. Well, Bob is a musician, and when we first met, that's what we did. He sang and played his guitar, and he's tall and thin. And so my son said to me, "Oh, so that's Bob in the thing." I said, "It is?" He said, "Yeah." I said, "Oh, I guess it is."
The other thing that I think we're very different is, and TG, you're a pretty good hippie, and and I think you have a different view of aging. And
Mm-hmm.
do you want to talk about that? I mean, it's in the work, the way you lovingly portray these buildings at the twilight of their lives.
Certainly is a reflection of my own life.
Well,
not that I'm
that
at
you
the
embrace
end, but I hope.
and find beauty. I mean, it is a romantic, beautiful gesture.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
And the color you find in them, and the purple in the roof line.
Yeah. And again, I don't really think about these things, I'm not like saying, well, I think I'll paint this purple so that it reflects, the setting sun or anything. But I think that the work that I do always reflects what I'm thinking about and the way that I feel about life and my philosophy of life and the things that go on with me. But again, I'm not sitting out, I don't calculate it. The real word is I'm not illustrating it. It's simply part of it.
No, and the other artists, I think of your work as pretty firmly rooted in an American tradition.
Right.
And like Birchfield, or artists who look at the American landscape and take it in their own ways.
Mm-hmm.
And using watercolors, I mean, that's not really breaking new ground
No.
in that way.
Yeah, and they're a little quirky.
Yes. Diluted or
Yeah, a little, yes.
Who were some of the artists that you?
Oh, I hate that question. I don't really have any artists that I think of as being people who are really a huge influence on me.
But you read Art Forum, Art in America. You read. I mean, the thing you don't know or do know about Linda is she's incredibly well read, and she is up to date with the shows going on in Europe and the reviews and that kind of thing. So you may say that you don't like them, but you know about them.
No, I know about them. That's what I mean. I don't have, like, I can't say, I mean, I could tell you a million artists that I love, whose work I like or who I've noticed or who I pay attention to. I don't really have a particular artist other than perhaps the artists that I studied with in school, like Linda Gall, Mel Edwards, Joan Semmel, who were huge influences on me as I was starting out. But I do follow a lot of artists. I look at a lot of work. And I think all of it has an impact on me, if only because it says to me, you can do this. You can do almost anything. Everything is available. It's a lesson that is hard learned. But yeah, I like to know what people are doing. I like to see what's happening in the art world. I want to know, but I don't feel that it matters as a rule or anything. Something. Do you know what I'm saying? I do. And I steal from everybody.
Oh, well, yes.
As you well know. Do. I used to do things, and I would say to Rebecca, "Oh my God, I didn't realize I just stole this figurine idea from who? The gallery artist who did the, you know who I'm talking about. What is his name?
Jonathan Hammer.
Oh, well, Jonathan Hammer, I steal my entire philosophy and everything from. We are like soul brothers, sisters, or something. In a certain way.
He's got a lot of depth and crazy things to steal from, but character for sure.
I'm thinking about the guy who does smoke and
Rob Wynn.
Rob Wynn. And I said, oh my God, I love his work, but I didn't realize that I took his figurines. His ceramic stuff, but I do it in such a different way than he does.
Very different way. Yeah, I didn't even see that connection.
Yeah. Well, I feel guilty, but I don't tell everybody. I think oh no, what did I do?
Well, it's an homage.
Yes, it is. Thank you.
And
I admire him so much.
There are artists I see from places completely unrelated to Columbus, New York, or in Europe who are looking at figurines. I mean,
there's a lot of people doing figurines now.
And ceramics.
Using them in different ways. Yeah.
And what are your next steps?
My next steps. It's a good question. I probably am going to continue to do some of these buildings because I don't know what I'm going to do next. And so I have to start letting things
I really
happen.
like your paintings. I mean, I think the
I want to
watercolors
develop
are
them more.
really solid, but I'm very proud of the paintings. You have 4 here in the show, and they're really strong. And I know it was a big change going from oil paint to the acrylic on panels. And I like the way you use the natural wood.
Oh yeah, well I love the natural wood. I think it's kind of sweet that I'm painting wood on a piece of wood. So let it go through, let it show through. But I like them because, for one thing, we're sitting here and talking about this all being landscapes, but if you really look closely, there is a landscape
There's
to
no
be seen.
sky, there's no ground.
They're
nothing. Floating houses.
They're just floating, and they've become some kind of a landscape.
So is in the last body of work from Zanesville, there is a real environmental component to them, like a political.
They were political, yeah.
How do you read these?
I think these are only political in the personal. In the way that we were talking about people aging and dying and things like that, and buildings that also do this. I think it's more about local in a certain sense. That becomes that supersedes the local. It's personal that supersedes the political.
Well, it's such a vast open landscape where in Ohio and in Zanesville you don't have that long vista and things are flatter.
Yeah.
And so there isn't hills and trees and things to block your landscape. So it's sort of like a lone structure.
Mm-hmm. And where we live is a very kind of lonely place. It's big and empty. And we live nowhere. Or as Bob would say, we live 30 miles from nowhere. You're not there yet.
Do they have a good library?
No. They have a ordinary library. It's
Have you
not
gone
good.
more to the internet?
Yes, but well, I buy books. I buy books a lot, but their library is no better than the one at Zanesville, and it's almost the same, really. But that's one of the things I've often found, though, that no matter where you are, the same books are in the library.
Is that right?
Yeah, it's really true. Because I always go to the library wherever I am, and I can find the same books in all of them. If I want to find figurines, I go on the internet now because I've already used all the figurine books. I've used everything I want from them, and in every city, I've gone through them in Zanesville, Columbus, Miami Beach, Maine, and now Taos. And the same books on figurines that you use to value, to see what people are collecting and things, are in all of those libraries. They're all exactly the same ones. So I go on the internet and I look up different things, and I see what's on auction and what people are selling in their stores, and their online shops and things, and I download their pictures.
So I think of your work as breaking all the rules, all the things you're not supposed to do to get ahead in a career, that you think about and paint images about family and about love and about nostalgia and about place. Do you not want to sell any art?
Apparently not.
No, it's you have been able to walk that fine line to make something that is acquired by the progressive corporation, that is accepted in that lexicon of what's contemporary art and what's valued, and it's not an easy task to do.
Well,
was that hard? I mean, do you feel like you don't seem to feel like you're making things to fill an audience? Or
No, I know, and I've always done that, and I've always taken the hard way of doing everything, and I don't think that I can work without doing that. I think that that's the way what I have to do. I mean, when I first got out of school, I wanted to be an abstract painter, and but it didn't work for me. I didn't know exactly what to do with it. I started it, but I didn't know exactly. So I decided I wanted to start putting things in. But could I just paint buildings? No. First, I had to make it really difficult to paint the buildings. And so I would do things to the canvas that would make it very hard to paint well. And I would rough it up. I would add things to it. I would try to paint over rough, terrible surfaces. And if I couldn't do that, then I wasn't satisfied. If I could do that, I was happy. If I could turn that ugly thing into something that excited me, then I was happy with that. And I did stuff like that for a long time. And then one day I decided that I wanted to start painting for real again. But I couldn't just paint what was in front of me.
So some of the things that I always like about it is this connection with like the 18th century, or that the monkey bands and sort of these crazy romantic notions and lusty and
Yeah.
what are you reading now that?
Well, what am I reading right now? Right now I'm reading Nabokov's Speak Memory, which is dull and slow, and I really like that. And it's old fashioned, and I like to read that. I think it slows your mind down, and you have time to contemplate and think about things. I'm trying to read. My pronunciation is probably wrong because I don't know anything French. Rabelais. Mm-hmm. I want to read his books, and because I know who he is and I know his reputation, and he appeals to me, but he's really hard to read. It's very language that is difficult. In order to read him, you have to have quiet blocks of time to contemplate and think about things. I love Montaigne. Montaigne. Thank you.
Yeah.
Montaigne.
Thank you.
I read him for many, many, many years, and found lots of things in his writing that I want to know, that send me places and add to how I feel about my work and my life and everything else.
Well, that existed for me in this group of work, that sort of absence of time, or time arrested, that it's just sort of a snapshot, and
Mm-hmm.
it's not fast, it's very slow and quiet.
Yes, yeah, I think so. That's what that's how I live, I think. Except when I'm in Columbus, when it seems like time goes so fast.
Oh, we're the big city here, honey.
I know, we're here in the big city. I don't know how to live here anymore. I've lost the habit. Okay.
Unless there's more you want to say, Linda.
No, I'm done. Thank you.
Thanks.